Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulullah Muhammedin seyyidil evvelin ve ahirin. Meded ya Resulullah, meded ya saadat ashabı, meded ya meşayihina. La estağfurullah maşallah fazla hasen şah Muhammed Erzakani. Meded tarikatuna as-suhba vel hayr fil cem'iyye. Bismillah lazım men asa fel nefse ve hasen felah. Sadakallahu azim. Allah Azze ve Celle kimseye zulmetmez.
Allah Almighty does not tyrannize or oppress anyone.
Haşa. Zulüm Allah Azze ve Celle'nin sıfatlarından değildir.
May Allah Almighty forgive us. To oppress, to tyrannize people is not an attribute of Allah Almighty.
Allah Azze ve Celle'nin sıfatları olan sıfatlar merhamet, sabır, her türlü güzel şeyler Allah Azze ve Celle'nin sıfatındandır.
Allah Almighty's attributes and characteristics are all beautiful, such as He Almighty Allah is the patient one, the merciful one, and thus Allah Almighty's characteristics, qualities and attributes are all beautiful ones.
O zulümdü, başka şeyler olanlar haşa Allah Azze ve Celle olmaz.
Bad characteristics such as oppression cannot be attributed to Allah Almighty.
Onun bizim itikad kitaplarımızda Allah Azze ve Celle vacip olan olmayan şeyler yazılır.
It is mentioned in the Holy Revelation, in our belief, in our faith, in our holy book, that Allah Almighty, He is the one who has the most beautiful qualities.
Zulüm şeytanın sıfatıdır.
And it has been made clear that oppression and tyranny are the attributes and characteristics of Shaitan.
Ona tabi olanların sıfatıdır.
The ones who are oppressors and tyrants are the ones who follow Shaitan.
En büyük zulüm de insan zalim kendi nefsine zulmeder.
And the greatest oppression people commit is the oppression against themselves.
İnsan başka şey değil. Allah Azze ve Celle insanlara ikram etmiş, ibadet etsinler diye yaratmış.
Allah Almighty offered to humankind the honor to serve Allah Almighty.
Onlar onu bırakıp kendilerine ibadet eder, kendilerine taparlar.
However, people abandon and reject that offer, and instead of serving Allah Almighty, they worship themselves, they worship their own egos.
Allah Azze ve Celle tapacaklarına kendi nefislerine taparlar.
Instead of worshiping Allah Almighty, they worship their own egos.
Onun için zulüm yaparlar, kendi kendilerine zulüm yaparlar.
And it is through that act of denying Allah Almighty's divine service and people worshipping themselves and their own egos that they are in fact oppressing against themselves.
Allah Azze ve Celle'nin kimsenin hiçbir şeye ihtiyacı yok.
Allah Almighty is not in need of anyone or anything.
Çünkü yaratan odur bu.
Because He is the creator.
Kainatı yaratan odur.
He is the one who created this creation.
Biz toz gibi bile değiliz bu kainatın içinde.
And within that creation of Allah Almighty, we do not even represent a grain of dust.
Yani ikram etmiş. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam.
Yet Allah Almighty honored us and offered to us.
Buyurmuş Allah Azze ve Celle Kur'an-ı Kerim'de. İnsanoğluna ikram etmişiz, onu yüceltmişiz.
And even though we do not even represent a grain of dust, Allah Almighty honors us in the Holy Quran and mentions that we honored humankind and we raised their ranks and their positions and we gave humankind honor.
Halbuki dediğimiz gibi o kainatın içinde değil, biz dünya bile toz gibi, toz kadar yapar. O büyük Allah Azze ve Celle'nin mülkünde o toz bile olmaz.
And what an honor this is, that even though we are not even a piece of dust within creation, we are not even a piece of dust within this single world we live in, yet Allah Almighty says that He Almighty Allah honored humankind.
Artık bize o kadar ikram etmiş, o kadar dağıtmış.
And look at this vast amount of divine favor Allah Almighty bestowed upon humankind.
Onu da bırakıyoruz. Güya Allah Azze ve Celle bizim ibadetimize ihtiyacı var.
Yet we reject this reality and we abandon and deny these divine favors, and we act as if Allah Almighty was in need of our worship.
Bir de namaz ya bir şey yaptıkları vakit insanlar kendilerine beğenirler.
People are so proud of themselves and they boast with their prayers and they boast with the various things they do.
Kendilerine bir şey yaptık zannederler.
And they think that they have accomplished an achievement.
Allah Azze ve Celle o sana ikram etmiş. Sen onu
But it is Him, Allah Almighty, who allows you to do and to give these things to you as a divine favor.
yapacaksın. Nefsin severse sevmese de yapacaksın ki sana fayda olsun.
And you must do and obey Allah Almighty and do what He Almighty Allah offered you to do, whether your ego likes it or not.
Senden başkasına fayda değil, Allah Azze ve Celle hiç ihtiyacı yok.
And those things you do, which Allah Almighty offered to you to do, they are to your benefit. Allah Almighty is not in need of these things He offered you to do, but you are the one who is in need of that.
Allah Azze ve Celle her şey onun elinde.
Everything is within the hands of Allah Almighty.
Allah bu ikramı vermiş. Onu yapmayan nefsine zulmetmiş. En büyük zalim kendi kendine.
And Allah Almighty offered to you this divine honor, this honor of serving Him, and people yet are rejecting that honor and instead worship their own egos.
Zulmeden insandır. O da çoğu insanlar yapıyor.
And those who worship and serve their own egos instead of serving Allah Almighty, they are the greatest oppressors because they oppress against themselves. And many people are like that.
Ahkam kesiyor.
People know things better. They make judgments.
Yok şöyledir, yok böyledir, yok.
They think of themselves that they have the position to determine what things are and how things are supposed to be.
Nasıl oluyor, nasıl şey yapıyor. Biz aklımız var, biz her şeyi biliriz.
People say that we know everything. We can make judgments ourselves. We have our own minds.
Sen kimsin ki bu kadar kendini büyük zannediyorsun?
But who are you to think of yourself to be someone big?
Dediğimiz gibi dünya bile toz gibi değil bu kainatın içinde.
This world we live in does not even represent a piece of dust within the entirety of creation.
Artık sen nesin?
Now think of yourself what you are.
Allah Azze ve Celle'nin olan yücelir, olmayan alçalır.
Those who are with Allah Almighty will be raised, whereas those who are not with Allah Almighty will be lowered and humbled.
O ayetler Allah Azze ve Celle'nin buyurduğu bunlardır.
And this is what Allah Almighty informs us about in His divine verses.
İnsan zulmeden kendine zulmeder.
Those who oppress against themselves.
Allah muhafaza etsin.
May Allah Almighty protect us.
Allah insanlara hidayet versin.
And may Allah Almighty guide people to the right way.
Akıllıyım zanneden insanlar akıllarını Allah Azze ve Celle'nin yolunda olmadıktan sonra akıl diye bir şey yoktur onlarda.
And those who think of themselves to be very clever ones, if they don't use their minds or their intelligence for the sake of Allah Almighty, then these people are in reality mindless people.
Allah muhafaza etsin.
May Allah Almighty protect us.
Ve minallah tevfik. El Fatiha.